Ayerscarpe is named after the famous natural landmark in the heart of Australia, Ayers Rock, more commonly known as Uluru. To really boil it down to the bare bones, Ayers Rock is exactly that, a rock, which means that its name is quite a fitting source of inspiration for our bunny boy here because he makes me rock hard. My electrically aligned bunny boy can't have this much midriff is a 5-star Lord Guard, an archetype that has the full spectrum of really good to who is Frostleaf. The only thing you need to know about Ayerscarpe is that he really wants to be surrounded by big, strong women. The reason for this disposition is his second skill, Activate Phase Blades. Upon activation, his balls get larger and his attacks also deal an additional 170% of his attack as arts damage to all enemies that are currently being blocked by friendly units in the surrounding 8 tiles. Essentially, a nearby operator blocks an enemy and Ayerscarpe deals extra damage to them when he attacks, even if he is attacking something else like your frail sense of masculinity. I remember taking Ayers along for the first time and chasing that wet dream of him hitting a billion things all at once. However, you don't need me to tell you that this doesn't come up very often, and Activate Phase Blades has a few other problems that I will quickly mention here. The uptime is abysmal. The scaling, while good, is hard to make use of, and being able to block enemies is not guaranteed. If you can find the godly situation for this skill, then good for you. But when I use Ayers, I often find myself using skill 1, Shrapnel Burst, which is not the only thing that's bursting around here. Every few attacks, the next attack deals arts damage to up to 3 nearby enemies and slows them briefly. It's less flashy, but it's definitely thematic considering the circumstances. If I had to choose, I'd mastery Activate Phase Blades first, not because it's better, but because it's more fun. Now this wouldn't be an Ayerscarpe video if I didn't explain the big and strong women I alluded to earlier, so why don't we get into that? Bachelorette number 1 is Saria, who is big, strong, and a woman. Although I'm not so sure about that last part because I keep seeing people call her daddy all the time. Ayers actually mentions in his idle talk that Saria once frowned at him from afar, which is exactly the kind of interaction I would remember if women were real. This is possibly a reference to how his weapon is actually technology from Rhine Labs that mysteriously made its way onto the black market. Saria provides healing and resistance debuffing, which is perfect for our bunny boy here, making sure that his moments of power are more momentous and powerful. Saria's damage increase with calcification becomes exceptional if you can manage to directly buff Ayers with someone like Warfarin or Skadi Alta, since you'll be taking advantage of 3 different damage scalers. However, since Ayers is often surrounded by his harem, buffs like these can be hard to get off. Bachelorette number 2 is Liskarm, who is definitely strong and a woman, but not necessarily big depending on where you look. When I think about Liskarm and Ayers together, I imagine it as a duo comedy act where both of them are the straight man, so it devolves into a normal conversation. Liskarm's battery ability covers up some of the downside of Activate Phase Blades, but can also be used to make you lose No Nut November. If you're using multiple defenders and relying on Ayers for damage, then Liskarm is kind of a must to make sure that his skills, especially skill 2, are up as quickly and as often as possible. I rate Liskarm a "Can you shock me please?" out of silently judging you. Our final contender is Nian, who might be strong, might be big, and might be a woman. I don't know, okay, who knows what gods really are. When I was thinking about how Ayers and Nian might interact, I literally couldn't think of anything except for the fact that they both show copious amounts of midriff. Nian is cool because of her ability to let Ayers block things himself with iron defense, or by making his job easier by tanking them herself and silencing them if necessary. Additionally, if you're using multiple big strong women, then using Nian can block even more enemies for Ayers to blast away at. An honorable mention on the end here goes to Pallas, who instead of being in front of Ayers can actually work behind him because of how her kit works. However, if you ask me, I'd definitely prefer to be in front of him. Now a quick word from our sponsor, Seek Aid, which does absolutely jack shit and should be treated as such. If you're leveling Ayers for the attack speed, then I humbly request that you take your foreskin shredding elsewhere. But after all of this, do I recommend our bunny boy here? The answer is yes. But only because you can do this.
uh, uh, uh.